Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Karen Livingston, Senior Director of Policy at ABC National, and I'll be your facilitator for today's webinar. Today's presentation is being recorded and will last approximately 60 minutes. This presentation will be available on ABC's website within 48 business hours. Attendees will also receive an email with a link to the presentation and webinar recording. As per ABC National's AI policy, the use of AI tools that record virtual meetings, such as this webinar, is prohibited. Please note all participant lines are muted. You are welcome to submit questions throughout the webinar by using the question box located on the right side of the screen. Before I introduce our panel, I'd like to thank our strategic partners for sponsoring today's webinar: CNA, JLG, Milwaukee Tool, Procore, Southwire, the Contractors Plan, Tradesman International, and United Rentals. I would now like to introduce today's speakers. Kevin Sell is Senior Manager of Corporate Development at Quest Group. He has served as a special government employee for the U.S. Department of Labor for nearly 25 years, helping multiple construction companies earn OSHA VPP status. Marie Nickel is Director of Safety at Marker. Marie also serves as President of the Union County Safety and Health Council in Ohio, helping connect employers and communities through education, collaboration, and a shared commitment to protecting people. John Bolt is Senior Vice President of Health, Safety, Environmental, and Security for SMB Engineers and Constructors. He has been with SMB since 2017, and prior to joining SMB, he served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 26 years. And finally, Joe Xavier, Senior Director of Health and Safety at ABC National, will moderate the discussion. Please help me welcome our panelists.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen, and welcome everyone. I hope you are having a safe, happy, safe, and sound week, which is a national event held each August that recognizes the success of workplace safety and health programs and offers information and ideas on how to keep the workforce safe. Thank you for joining us for this conversation on how ABC's STEP Health and Safety Management System can prepare you for your journey to achieve OSHA VPP status. So with that, I want to go ahead and get started with just a very brief description of STEP, and then we'll hand it off to John to talk a little bit more about VPP before we get into our conversation. So for our ABC members, you may already know what STEP is, and if you're joining us today and this is your first time with ABC, we're going to go through STEP and just talk about it very briefly. So STEP was started back in 1989. I'm not going to call anyone out, but I would imagine there's probably one person on our panel who wasn't even born or alive in 1989. So it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime ago. It's time tested, originally set up to help benchmark, to help do gap analysis, and to help share best practices across our membership. Back in 1989, it was kind of primarily seen, in addition to all those things, was kind of like treated like a safety award, but now it has kind of transformed more into a safety and health management system. It's fantastic because it's sophisticated enough for large members, and it's easy enough to follow, even for members that are smaller that don't even have a health and safety professional. A few years ago, we added to STEP, we added total human health, so that along with all the 25 key components, it helps you measure, strengthen, and build your way to industry-leading health and safety performance. To give you a little bit of a look inside what STEP is, these are the list of total human health, and you can see the 25 key components. STEP is a journey. Everyone starts in a different place. You have different levels of maturity in terms of where you might be starting. So you might be starting your journey in a different place. But what I really like about this STEP health and safety management system is that nearly every one of the key components involves something to do with communication or accountability or getting people engaged and developing trust. So these are all things that you need to be able to engage people and to change the way people think and the way they act and behave. So when you do all these things synergistically, it really helps your organization develop relationships and relationships that that create that safety culture that we're looking for. Likewise, when you take a look at our key components, a lot of them help you to plan and to plan better and to execute well on a plan. So what we talk about is measure. So these are the 26 key components. Whether you're using behavior-based safety or HOP, or you're following an ISO standard or EM385, if you're doing DuPont STOP program or Caterpillar START program or the ASSP, whatever it is, whatever system or philosophy that you believe in, what we were asking you to do is to take the key components and kind of measure it using this framework. So regardless of which system you use, you can use the key component framework to measure your current performance. After you measure your performance, or to help you, after you measure your performance, the idea is you strengthen, right? So measure and then strengthen. This is one of our key components. It's the R1, which stands for results. It's about leading indicators. You can see it goes from 0 all the way up to 6 points. When you take a look at it, you kind of work your way across. So you might be in the 2-point column or the 4-point column. We kind of consider that standard practice. And the idea is that wherever you fall on this, whichever column you fall into, is you want to work to get to the next column over. And to get the points for that column, you have to do all the bullet points within that column to be able to earn those points. And then when you add all those points up, it gives you a score. So that's kind of how STEP works as a benchmark and gap analysis. So strengthen. So if you're not doing anything, at least move to standard practice, from standard practice on to best practice. If you're already at the best practice, think, what more can I do? How else can we improve on these components to make our company safer, healthier, and to send our workers home more fulfilled every day? So the next part is build, right? So you want to make sure that you're engaging people, that you're equipping them with the right tools and materials and the resources. Like you see on your screen, our Health and Safety Alliance, there's STEP, there's Total Human Health, our Health and Safety Leadership Forum, as well as we have an actual award program as well. And from OSHA, OSHA has their recommended practices for safety and health programs. It was published back in 2016, but still very relevant with these kind of universal principles that are all designed to kind of promote the leading indicator approach to health and safety. So I'm going to go ahead and move over. So that gives you a very brief overview of what STEP is and how we can use it to measure, strengthen, and build. We only talked about one of the key components, but like I said, we have 26 of them all together. So that gives you a nice baseline for what STEP is. I want to go over to John Bolt, who can talk more about OSHA's VPP program.
Thank you, Joe. So approval into voluntary protection program. This is OSHA's way of officially recognizing when you've got outstanding companies and outstanding employees who work together to build and maintain really exemplary safety and health management systems. And it's all about having this cooperative relationship between management, labor, and OSHA, so that we can really implement these comprehensive programs that go above and beyond just the basic 1910 and 1926 standards. And new this year, to align with the best practices for safety and health programs that Joe mentioned earlier, that it used to be 4 elements of the VPP management system. Now it's expanded to 7 to align with that 2016 recommended practice. And so those elements are management leadership, worker participation, hazard identification and assessment, hazard prevention and control, education and training, program evaluation and improvement, and then communication and coordination for host employers, contractors, and staffing agencies. And the really cool thing is that when they broke it out into 7 core elements, it's starting to align a little better with those STEP key components, and there's a lot of similarities between the two. And so we can start to look at, hey, I'm already doing these things as part of STEP. that it becomes a much more logical transition of, I'm doing these anyway, that this is, I'm well on my way to being part of VPP. So really cool program, and looking forward to talking about it more. Back to you, Joe.
Great, great. Thank you so much, John. And so I forgot to mention about the Safety Champions program. So it's relatively new, just came out a few months ago from OSHA. We are very excited about it. I got a chance to do a comparison between our STEP program and OSHA's brand new Safety Champions program, and they parallel very, very well. So we're very excited for our smaller members that maybe have about 50 or so employees within their company. We're going to be encouraging them to go more safety champions. But for our larger members, we want to kind of continue leading the way towards VPP. So with that, I want to ask Kevin, and actually the entire panel, a couple of questions. You can kind of just choose which one you want to answer. But we're going to go to Kevin first and just ask if you could just share why VPP is important to your company, how it made your organization stronger or safer, and what kind of benefits do you receive?
So assuming I can take an employee angle on that, maybe, Joe, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about everything that all of us do each day and how we bring people into our companies, so that's kind of a challenge in the industry of itself. But when you look at having a great culture, having core values, and then for us, bringing people in from the recruitment stage with judgment index to the 2-week new hire orientation, that's a lot. And we have a really robust environmental health and safety program. With that, you kind of want to have something there for the employees to give them confidence of what you're doing and that their performance is among the best. Now, there are plenty of health and safety awards from just about every association in construction out there. However, STEP kind of adds that level of confidence, but sometimes that's not enough. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So the VPP for us was saying, hey, the men and women that are on their tools and equipment each and every day are doing the right thing. We have a good program. We have leadership involved with the people at the workface. And it really just gives a seal of approval, because I think John mentioned it. The VPP is an approval. It's not a certification, that the governing federal agency said, you all are doing things right. So that's what it kind of brings home to us. And as you might imagine, in a day when we're all wanting to keep people, it certainly adds to retention as well. So it's about the employees. That's kind of where we started.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. And to just kind of add one more thing to that benefit as an employee. So I understand you must have been one of the first SGEs. You want to share a little bit about that?
So I want to quantify that. So yeah, we can, in 2001, myself and another gentleman that worked for VOX in the Ohio Valley chapter, because that was way back when. Yeah, we were the 2 first SGEs in construction for mobile workforce. Because as we were talking, what the listeners don't know, the participants don't know, as we were talking ahead of time, John and I were reflecting the previous years, which would predate Marie because she's so young. So we're not excluding her. We're just acknowledging that she's pretty young and good at what she does, but we're not showing age here. But yeah, so we had to go to Atlanta. That's before you had all these outreach programs, and we were fortunate enough to get in, but it wasn't an easy task. Construction with a mobile workforce, we've had to fight for this every step of the way.
Great. So as a safety pro, you also get some benefits in getting that extra education and just seeing how other contractors are displaying these best practices. That's fantastic.
You do, but it's also that all 3 of us would agree, and anyone else that's listening, that's VPP, you want to be good stewards of the program. And the only way that that's going to grow right now with the lack of funding, we'll be a little political here, with the lack of funding, congressional funding for cooperative programs, it's the only way that we can help OSHA grow the program in our industry.
That's right. That's right. I remember, and you actually testified at one of those congressional hearings. So thank you so much for that.
About a year ago. Yes, thank you.
Yep. And I'm going to ask Maria essentially the same questions. And how long have you been an SGE, Marie?
I've been an SGE for 5 years now. Marker, we have been in the VPP program for 18 years, and we've been doing STEP for 28 years. So well before my time at Marker, but it's so exciting to see, and now myself get to join in. But what I think taking for what it's made us for stronger and what it's done for our culture, it's really helped us build that opportunity to reach out to other companies. And when we go be an SGE with other companies, we learn just as much as we share. And I think that is a huge benefit that Marker gets because, you know, I would say that the safety community is a huge family and nobody is afraid to help other people be safe. And that's what we want. We want everybody to go home safe. And on the flip side of that, I would say from the client perspective, it really creates a sense of confidence in the company that you're working with. Our first goal, of course, is that nobody gets hurt, but then our clients also understand that and they have that recognition that OSHA is supporting us and has that confidence in us from that contractor perspective as well. And, you know, we're identifying hazards and communicating that to not only our clients, but then our subcontractors. So it really continues to flow downwards and build everybody up from that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marie. And John, the same set of questions, whichever question you like most. I love that you shared about the cooperative, collaborative, comprehensive, all of these C words, and that partnership, right? Like there's a mentorship to it. There's a partnership. You are also an SGE. I'm not sure if we mentioned that's a special government employee. Please go ahead and share some of your thoughts.
Sure. You know, for a lot of companies, there's a stigma around OSHA, and oh my gosh, OSHA's at the gate. What do they want? What are they doing here? What do I need to hide? You know, things like that. But that cooperative relationship, because we all want the same things, and you know, yeah, we've got different mandates behind that, but we want the best for our employees, and so being able to pick up the phone and call the compliance assistance specialist, call the VPP coordinator, even call the area director, and hey, I'm struggling with this, and you know, nothing's for attribution. It's just we're trying to get better, and they recognize that, and so that having them as a resource and bouncing ideas off of them, because they've seen so much more than we have. That's really a great asset, and you know, just as part of the reapproval evaluation process that we go through every 3 to 5 years, that you know, it's hey, we want OSHA to come out and give us that really detailed look under the hood. Tell us what we're doing well, but more importantly, tell us what we can get better at, because we're never as good as we think we are. And I may think I have a great program and have, you know, the OSHA team lead and a bunch of very experienced special government employees come in and go, hey, here's another thing that you may want to think about, or here's something that you're missing that we've seen works really well. And we may have never thought of that. And without that outside look to tell us, you know, there's some things that you can get better at, we may think we have an awesome program, and we lose that opportunity to learn and improve. And so we really value that that objective assessment each, you know, as often as we can get it, but at least every 3 years.
Right, right. And I feel like there's a little bit of a theme here where you're talking about resources and other groups, and specifically for VPP. Would you like to talk a little about, I guess, VPP-PA?
The Voluntary Protection Program Participants Association is an advocacy group, and so they work in close partnership with OSHA and with VPP participants to help advance the program. They do that through advocacy. They do it through mentorship, and just having that talent pool of companies that they've been through VPP. So if I haven't gone through it yet, and I'm looking at this policies and procedures manual, and it looks a little bit onerous, but I start talking to a mentor from the VPP company and say, help me get there from here. And that they're a tremendous resource to show us, here's where your gaps are, here's where you need to prioritize. This is doing really, really well, and help focus our effort on what OSHA is going to be looking for when they come to do an on-site evaluation. That's a pretty cool resource. It's also, you know, we have this within each region, it's a little bit more tight knit. And here in Texas, we've got a lot of VPP participants who are, they're working in refineries, petrochemical facilities, heavy industrial construction, and so they do what we do. And so to be able to call up somebody in another VPP company and go, hey, how do you do this? And that they're already at that exemplary level of safety and health excellence. So we know when we ask them, they're giving us good answers, good things to incorporate as best practices that are above and beyond the OSHA standards. So we rely pretty heavily on those. And for those larger ABC members that may be interested in pursuing a pathway into VPP, that VPP PA has a Journey to Safety Excellence program. It's similar in some ways to Safety Champions program, but it's more geared to sort of hands-on mentorship to get you ready for a VPP evaluation. So
Great.
A great resource, and it's staffed by volunteer SGEs who are very, very experienced. They know what an on-site evaluation looks like, and they can help you get there.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for kind of talking about the value of VPP for the company, to the customer, what it means when they see that status or that flag, that banner, and then also what it means to a safety pro that's up and coming and wants to learn more and can be involved and actually become an SGE. So I think that's all fantastic. So I want to shift a little bit, like we were talking about earlier, that STEP is kind of like a self-assessment process and kind of can prepare you for the vetting process of VPP. So just if you could, the question here, I'm going to direct it to Kevin first, is about your journey to STEP and through STEP and how that prepared you for the VPP journey.
So I feel that STEP for everyone, if you're diamond or platinum, should build up your confidence, because as we were discussing earlier in the pre-webinar mode, STEP it's not a safety award. So it's uniquely different. It's a measurement. And if you're being honest with yourself, it's going to give you areas to improve. With Quest Group, it was already a consistent buildup of the STEP, which had been diamond for many years. So even prior coming to Quest, had known the leadership team, had known the program, had known their STEP ranking, and actually were having discussions with them ahead of time. So for those out there that are STEP diamond or platinum, and when you look at the VPP application, you're going to see some similarities, and it's going to give you some confidence to look at that without that intimidation. So it's just something that reassures, because STEP takes you on that journey. But if you've sustained yourself at a high level, again, diamond or platinum, it's going to put you where you're going to realize that the VPP is the next logical step. So that's kind of where we kind of looked at it. Because if you're sitting out there in your diamond, for example, and maybe you have all these awards, nothing against all the awards, but you're thinking, well, what is next? Well, put it back to get approval of your program and the work that your men and women do every day by getting VPP, because that's where it ultimately leads.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. And Marie, would you like to, so I'm not sure if it sounded like you weren't there at Marker when they were going through the process, but how does STEP help you in between?
Well, I would say it gives me an extra interesting perspective. So I want to say that STEP helps us learn to measure, and then VPP helps us demonstrate. And it has really challenged us through the years to do that. And so STEP has given us the foundation and looking for the material and, things like we've talked about, those core elements, the management commitment, employee involvement, all of those individual systems. And then we look back and see, are we managing them correctly? And are we, always going back and say, is there a better way to do this? Is there a way that we can help our people get better and get better out in the field? And again, like I say, we're here for the people and we want to make sure that they go home safe every day. So that's really important. And doing STEP annually really helps us to ensure that we're doing that, and ask those questions. Whereas we've talked about the VPP, the recertification is every 2 to 3 years. And again, it's checking that we are doing that recertification and we're holding those standards. But there's a gap there. And so I think it's really important to continue the STEP annually so we can continue to evaluate.
That's right. And one of the things I talk about with people that are even new to STEP, maybe they're a new ABC member or they're new to safety, but we have a full day class where we go through all the components. And every now and then we'll get someone that says, I want to do all 26 of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do not do all 26 in the same year. Like go through, measure everything, evaluate everything, and then find like the 5 key components that would make the biggest difference. And then talk to your executive team and like have them agree to all 5, or even if they only agree to 1, like just do that one. I've, from personal experience, have seen where you try to do many or like too many of them, and then like a lot of people do a lot of work. By the end of the year, like nothing really gets done, right? So kind of like looking through and finding out really which ones will make you better, and then going the next year and then doing the evaluation again and using like that. So glad to see that that even as a VPP member, status, that you're using STEP to continue improvement year after year after year. So great, thank you. John, would you, so John, you're actually a member of the ABC National Health and Safety Committee that kind of reviews STEP, and that we change it every 2 or 3 years. Our last major change was adding total human health. But what are some of the things that, or what are some of the ways that you use STEP to kind of make sure that you're ready for your recertification for VPP?
So we've been participants in STEP since 1997, I think. And when we look back over, math and public, however many years, a lot, almost 30, that STEP has evolved. And, building on what Kevin talked about earlier, that it sort of puts you in that mindset of continuous improvement already, because not only are you trying to, okay, I'm at this level in this key component and I want to get to this next level, but as STEP continues to evolve, hey, here's some new and innovative things that the National Health and Safety Committee says that this is what safety excellence look like. Here's some new things that you can consider as part of your program. That it's already putting you in that continuous improvement mindset, because that's going to be something that OSHA expects, that you just don't achieve VPP status and rest on your laurels. Hey, I got the flag, I'm good. I can wait until my next 3-year on-site evaluation to get looked at again. No, every year I have to be able to prove I'm practicing continuous improvement. And STEP helps me do that, because if, I'm being honest and I'm looking at this, I'm not where I need to be in this key component, or this is new, particularly with total human health, because that's very new for us. And we're trying to get better. That, all right, I can go back and show what I'm doing in STEP is helping me to drive continuous improvement in my safety and health management system. So that's a really cool tool to continue in VPP.
Great. Thank you, John. And I think I may have forgotten to mention it, but if you do, this is live, so if you do have a question, type it in. And we do have Karen. Karen's still here, even though you can't see her on camera. So she's looking at the questions, and we're going to open it up to questions in a few moments. But before we get there, I wanted to go back to Marie. And I love the way you talked about STEP as being like the measure, the foundation, and then VPP, the demonstration. So I think that's a great illustration. Do you have anything more to add to that, or anything else that you'd like to say about it?
I just think it's important that you continue to go back and ask those questions. And sometimes they're hard questions, and we have to process them all together and ensure that we're continuing to get better. And I think that's really what takes it home at the end of the day.
Great. All right. So let's actually check in with Karen, see if there are any questions from the group here.
I guess the question is for John regarding the association. He had mentioned that can help walk you through the VPP process. If you're interested in learning more about that, would you just look up, go to their website, or how would you get in touch with someone?
If you go to vpppa.org, they have links and resources. So if you're looking for mentorship to get into VPP, it's like, hey, click on this link and you enter some information about who you are, where you are, and a member of VPPPA will get in touch with you, help link you up with a mentor, and sort of get you started on the process. And again, these are people that really want to help. They want to get other companies into VPP, and the other nice thing is that they will try to link you up with an SGE who's in your industry, and so they can sort of talk the talk when it comes to some specific language that applies to your industry and your specifics and your safety and health management system. Whereas, that may not be the case in other programs where you're talking to somebody who is, in industrial construction and you're in commercial construction or vice versa. Sometimes the language doesn't translate real well. So having a mentor who understands your business and how you set up your management system, that can be a great help when it comes to getting ready for VPP.
And would you say, John, that when you do reach out to VPP PA and go through the steps to get a mentor, is it pretty quick? Like, how long is the process before someone reaches out to you? Could it take a few months, a month, or does it just vary before that happens?
It's fairly timely, but it depends on the resources of the association. So in Greater Houston chapter, Ohio Valley, where there's a lot of VPP participants, that they tend to have a larger pool of SGEs that they can use for these type of outreach and mentorship programs. In regions where there's not a large VPP presence, that may take a little bit longer. It may take a little bit longer to line you up with a mentor that can speak your language, so to speak. But it's fairly timely. It's not like months. It may be within a week that you'll hear and start getting the process started. And mainly, it's just, hey, let's talk back and forth and sort of answer some of your questions about VPP, see where you are, and then work up to, hey, let's start sending me some documents. Let me take a look at them, and then let's get you ready for the written application. Let's get you ready for the on-site evaluation. So it's a very structured process to get you there. And again, Journey to Safety Excellence sort of goes step by step for getting you ready for the on-site evaluation.
Okay, great. That was very helpful. There's one other question, and I believe Maria talked about VPP recertification, so this relates to that. If your company attains VPP and you do not maintain your program, could your VPP status be revoked?
It could, absolutely. So that's why we want to continue. That's why STEP helps us. So every year we get to do that STEP journey together. And so it helps us look and see where we need to fix. So with the recertification every 3 to 5 years, that's when OSHA will come out, look at everything, go on site, and go on a little 1-week journey with you through your safety program and through your job sites. And they will allow you to make updates and changes, but there is a chance that if there's challenges and they're not seeing the effort that needs, then that could be taken away. So they're going to do everything in their way to make sure that doesn't happen. But we all really do try, and that's why we have those mentors and those extra hard conversations with our leadership.
Great, thank you. And that is it for questions right now.
Okay, so hopefully a few more will come in. And in the meantime, I wanted to ask Marie, actually, I guess we can ask everyone about the process to becoming an SGE, a special government employee. It sounds like, with the mentorship and with everything else, that the SGE could kind of be a key to like how quickly or how successfully or how it's integrated and how they can become, into VPP status. So Marie, could you just explain like some of the things that you went through? Like what were some of the qualifications? What were some of the training or different things that you had to experience in order to become the SGE?
Absolutely. So I will say that if you don't have an SGE on your team during your OSHA recertification or your conversations, there's likely going to be someone in the group to really, ask you to become a member, become an SGE, so you can do this as well, because there's not enough of us. And so that's what happened for me. And so during my first OSHA onsite, I was recruited by another SGE. And so I took the plunge. And what you really have to have is management's commitment. And so you have to have your company say, we're going to support you in your journey in being an SGE. And so wherever you want to go or wherever your company will allow you to go is where you can be an SGE. And there are company visits nationwide. And so as long as you have those resources and the backing from your company, it's as simple as that. So once you have an application, you fill it out. It is not long. Really, it's just education, work history, and showing that you have the support of your company. You submit that, and then I was actually trained during a VPP PA conference. And so each region has their own conference as well. And so with my own region, I was able to visit the VPPPA conference and then become SGE certified as well. And so it's really handy. And then we all have a group of people together that we can continue the journey with.
Wow, that's really I'm building this community of construction health and safety. That sounds fantastic. So I imagine Kevin and John, have you guys been SGEs for quite some time? Have you had the opportunity to mentor other SGEs, and what were some of the benefits of that?
Yeah, I think I can speak for John, and that answer is a resounding yes. But it's also, I think, important to mention about what this process entails. So way back when, it used to be a 5-day process, and it was very lengthy and boring. And now it's down to a 3-day, at least the last couple that I've helped teach. But I can tell you also, for those wanting to be an SGE, Marie and John will tell you, you have to fill out a financial disclosure form every year. It is a sworn position. So for example, when Marie finished her course, most likely before they left, there was an OSHA official that gave them the federal oath of office. Because when your affidavit is activated, you are the same as an OSHA employee. It's probably also important to know that it's not necessarily a technical requirement to be on it. So for example, I've seen plenty of SGEs in the past where you go through that evaluation and these people do a presentation, and they could be a shop manager or tool manager, and they just knocked it out of the park. And you want those folks there too, because the SGE course teaches you how to work with OSHA through the VPP process. And it's always funny, and I don't know if this happened to Marie or John, but we're sitting in Atlanta and they go around the room and they say, hey, what are you all here to do? And of course, we just wanted to be SGEs. We didn't care, but my goodness, there were a dozen people that said, well, I want to learn more about silica and I want to learn more about fall protection. And you could see the OSHA instructors just rolling their eyes and saying, look, that's not it. So, you also, much like your annual report for VPP, that's important. Once you're VPP, you have to submit an annual report. When you're an SGE, you have that annual report as well. So there's other parts of it. It's not as technical as some people think. It is a lot of fun. I think our experiences collectively more often than not have been 90% positive. I've had a couple, and if I may, just to answer the question about, if you're VPP and then you're not, look, so the culture and the program and the people require it, but at any given time, if there's a change in management or ownership, it can change. We're pretty blessed because we're an ESOP, so we know that that's not going to happen, but you do see that happen. And can only tell you all, for those listening, if you pursue down the path and you get it, if there's ever comes a point to where there's a decision of whether you pull your application or you pull your status or you have OSHA do it, you want to pull it 100% of the time. You do not want the feds to have to pull it.
Great. So always knowing where you are, in terms of your commitment levels and resource levels. So great. It's a good word of advice there. How about any words of encouragement for people who are perhaps, been platinum for a couple of years, diamond for a couple of years, and kind of switch back and forth every now and then? But any words of wisdom or encouragement on like when to start the VPP journey, or how to start it, or getting that buy-in process?
You have a choice.
Why don't we go with you, Kevin?
That.
Yeah, so you've actually
Well,
been.
I think all three of us probably have an opinion. They're going to have a common theme. But I think if you're between platinum and diamond, my opinion is you're probably there. But I would find out first, why do you keep going between platinum and diamond? Why can you not be consistently diamond? Because that may present something that may be a no-go decision, but that would be the recommendation, at least on at 100,000 foot view. If you're teetering, my opinion, and I think Marie and John will share this, if you're either, you should go. I would be more concerned about why they're changing step levels.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about John? Any words of encouragement on the when and how, or any implementation secrets?
I think the when, the time to think about it is as you're preparing your annual step evaluation. And again, you need to be honest with yourself about where you really are. But you're already looking at these programs anyway, and this is a good time to assess. All right, do I have the documentation to prove that I am where I say I am? If somebody comes in and gives me an outside look, I can prove it. And not only is it written on paper, but I've got the results and I've got the felt experience of my employees, because one of the biggest things that an on-site evaluation team is going to do, they're not just going to look at your written programs, they're going to go out and ask your employees, is your company really doing these things? How does that impact you? How do you use this program? And if that isn't there, you're not ready. But if you're already looking at the step components anyway, go ahead and look at, all right, I have the documentation here. This is really where I am. And do a gap analysis. Put the step application and what your assessment is next to the VPP application and see where your gaps are. And then you can start identifying based on your available resources where you prioritize. And Joe, like you mentioned earlier, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Start with, whatever the low-hanging fruit is, get those program elements in place that may not be part of STEP. And there are a few technical aspects of VPP that you need to have, like you need to have an industrial hygiene program. You need to have access to professional resources like a certified industrial hygienist, CSPs, occupational physicians, things like that. So establish all those things, figure out what you're missing, and prioritize those. And even if it takes a full cycle, a full year to close that gap analysis, and then maybe the next year as you go through the step evaluation again, all right, here's where we are. We've closed these gaps. I'm ready to start talking with a VPP PA mentor about my written application and what do I need. And I would also recommend socializing with your organization's leadership about this is what we want to do, because it does require a commitment from at the CEO level, that the CEO has to commit that we're going to do these things that are part of VPP, and we're going to do them continuously, not just long enough to get approval to fly the flag, but we commit to do these long term, and then start getting your employees involved and get them, hey, is this something that you want to do? Because if employees are not bought into being part of VPP, you'll never get there. So start with those, getting that, socializing it with executive leadership and socializing it with your employees, and spend some time doing that before you think about doing the written application. Hopefully that helps.
Very good, very good. So definitely planning. I know we're in the strategic planning process, and we are looking at the, you're on our, actually our subcommittee within the safety committee for STEP to VPP, and just looking at getting that into our strategic plan, and then we're going to put some resources into it as well once it's approved. So I think planning is very important, like you mentioned, getting that buy-in. So let's see, I guess we'll move over to Marie and kind of ask you the same question about words of encouragement, when to start, or the buy-in process.
I am probably going to echo these exact same sentiments, except for I want you to start now. I want you to start the journey. Don't wait until you think your program's perfect, because it's never going to be that absolute perfect piece that you're going to want it to be. You're going to find gaps, and you're going to continue to improve upon that. And I think that's the biggest part of the success story. And that's the point, is we go ahead, we find those gaps, and then we get past that. The program is going to help you get better. And so STEP, again, it gives you that structured way of looking at it, and then where you can improve. And VPP really gives you another opportunity to challenge yourself and demonstrate that you really can use these systems. And just like the other two said, it's management commitment. And once you have that, if you have that company goal that you want to get somewhere, I think, just start somewhere is the biggest piece. And, ask maybe, are we compliant, but we want to take it to the next level. And is it actually working? Are we getting help to our associates in the field, in the warehouse, wherever they may be?
Fantastic. So I'm going to check with Karen one more time to see if there are any more questions. And if not, we'll go ahead and start closing this out. So Karen, do we have any more questions in the queue?
We do have a question, and this is directed toward Kevin. Kevin, could you comment on how the program helps workers transition into the construction workforce?
So sure, and thanks, Karen, and thanks for the question. It's a good question. So for employees, look, we're all wanting that next generation to enter the construction industry. So VPP, and I think Marie and John would share this, VPP takes that worry about, well, what I'm seeing from everything else, all the muck in social media and all the garbage in, garbage out stuff that we see. VPP, STEP Platinum, STEP Diamond, takes the whole, oh, it's too dangerous, it's this, it's that. Sure, it's hazardous in some cases, but it doesn't have to be dangerous. And VPP creates an assurance that that company and those people are doing everything to remove the danger and mitigate the hazards. So it really should, for people coming into the industry, take that worry, or take a parental worry. If we have folks on here that are, and we do, that parents that are construction professionals and are worried about their own kids being in the industry, can tell you that with the STEP progression and with VPP and all the other programs that ABC is working on, it certainly provides a healthier and safer environment. And probably need to add a little bit more to that too, because we talked about total human health. So ABC is far ahead of really anybody else, certainly ahead of OSHA. And it's not a slam on OSHA. Here's the deal. OSHA has safety and health regs, and but they're minimum standards. And there's standards on eye protection, fall protection, silica, hexchrome. When you start thinking of the space under the hard hat between the ears, that's uncharted water. And it really was for us until about 2019, when ABC in the spring of that year started that effort to where we are now, to where it's total human health, meaning we've wrapped in mental health with suicide prevention into that. Now, you are not going to find an OSHA standard for it, but I guarantee you every single area and regional office supports what we're doing, because they know, when you think about it, good God, how are you going to get an OSHA team to go to Congress with a mental health standard? They know that's going to take time. I hope they get there, like workplace violence. We're all hoping that they get there, but we're leading the way. So that's going to be something that's going to be different in your VPP application. But just because it doesn't ask the question does not mean you do not want to submit it. And while this might be my last comment, I also wanted to put in a plug for ABC members. If you're STEP Diamond or Platinum and you're AQC and you won an Excellence in Construction Award, you probably are ready. And to Marie's point, start now.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. And yeah, Total Human Health, it's just amazing. I had my own consulting company before joining ABC National, but the reason I joined ABC National was specifically because they wanted to launch Total Human Health. And just the way it really focuses on the whole person approach, the way it wants to build a psychologically safe workplace that is respectful of the entire workforce, and the way that it addresses distraction and even impairment with appropriate care. It's just an amazing way to look at health and safety. And so thank you so much for your positive comments about that and glowing comments about it. Great. I lost track of where we were for closing comments. Actually, no, I'm sorry, we were on questions. Karen, was that question just for Kevin, or was it for the rest of the panelists?
It was directed towards Kevin, but feel free to offer your thoughts.
Okay. Marie, would you like to chime in?
Total human health is huge at Marker. And for what I believe, I think it's really centered around how we get our associates to go home every day. So absolutely, you want to showcase, and everything about OSHA VPP is about going above and beyond the regular OSHA standards. And so everything that you do in that regard, you want to showcase. And I think Total Human Health and what ABC does is really showcasing that for us and allowing us to help show what it should be in VPP, and really just take the next leap and do that within your own company as well.
Great, thank you so much. So it looks like we are encroaching on our time. Karen, do we have any more questions?
No, we do not at this time.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and close this out, but I do want to thank the audience so much for the questions and for participating, and for everyone that's watching this on a recording for coming back and taking a look at it. This has been a conversation about Safe and Sound Week, which emphasizes programs. And if you're looking to get your start, we encourage you to look at STEP, and it's completely, so if you're not an ABC member, you can still go onto our website, click on the Health and Safety Alliance, and all of everything associated with STEP is free. It's right there on the free side of our website. And that's also where you will find the recording for this video. And again, just thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to, I guess, Derek. Or actually, I'm back to Karen to close this out with all the announcements and everything.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. On behalf of ABC, I would like to thank our speakers for such an informative webinar today, and also our strategic partners, CNA, JLG, Milwaukee Tool, Procore, Southwire, the Contractors Plan, Tradesman International, and United Rentals. The webinar will be posted on the ABC website, abc.org. Attendees will also receive an email within 48 hours with a link to the webinar recording and presentation. Today's webinar is copyright 2026 by Associated Builders and Contractors with all rights reserved. Thank you again, and you may now disconnect.